Okay, I'm ready to go. You guys ready? Let's check this out.
Ashes of Creation, a Kickstarter MMORPG which raised millions of dollars through a combination of private investment, Kickstarter support, paid for early access, and extremely expensive in-game shop items and bundles, promised players a complex, deep, and reactive world, and has shut down roughly 1 month after releasing into early access on Steam. And this news has shocked absolutely no one who has seen this story play out again and again and again. Game project overpromises and raises money through hopes and dreams, people are skeptical and get called haters, then the project dies, and yet it will continue to play out again many more times in our lifetimes because the MMORPG player base are desperate, trusting, and easily convinced a bright new future lays just beyond the horizon, and the next project will be the one, guys, for real, trust me, bro. But why does this keep happening? Why do Kickstarted crowdfunded MMORPG projects keep popping up, promising something amazing, taking loads of money off you, and then dying without giving you a game? And more importantly, why do people...
How... Is this really that common? How many... Like, maybe I've just been lucky that I've avoided all the games doing this, but I can't think of a lot of MMOs that pop up, try to crowdfund themselves and die. Ashes, for sure. What else? I'm sure there are some. I'm wondering if they're so kind of low-key that they just didn't even pop up on my radar. Like, Ashes definitely seemed like a top-tier attempt at this, and definitely made my radar, and it did surprise me. Several? 6 or 7 times, not all MMO. Shroud of the Water? What the hell was Shroud of the Water? Most never made it big like Ashes. Pathfinder MMO? I'd never heard of it. Profile, never heard of it. Kickstarters. Now that, yeah, I'm aware of a lot of Kickstarters that were basically scamish in nature. You think the funding method is part of the problem? The thing that gets me is, like, the numbers that I see coming out of Kickstarter don't even scratch the surface of what the stuff costs to make those. So I've always questioned, like, what role Kickstarter plays in funding. Like, think about the money that Star Citizen raised from Kickstarter. I mean, it didn't even put a dent in what it needed long term to sustain what they're building. The same was true for Ashes of Creation. Like, the money that Ashes of Creation got from Kickstarter was nothing. So, and I'm not saying this is Kickstarter's fault. Like, a lot of this feels to me like the blame rests on the person running the Kickstarter campaign. Like, they're over-promising. They're not doing the due diligence to understand, like, what it's going to take this thing to deliver this thing that they're promising. Like, exactly, outside of some niche Kickstarters, most are probably under budget for what they really need. Yeah. Even I did a Kickstarter I mentioned earlier in the stream. I did a Kickstarter for Virpil's new yoke, right? That they're selling, their new space yoke. And even Virpil, who has been doing peripherals and input devices and sticks and throttles and all that stuff, they've been doing it for years. Like, they know what this stuff costs. They have all the data and numbers in front of them, and even they undersold them stuff on the Kickstarter. Why? Like, I don't get it. Why? Yeah, exactly. Nash is not even a drop in the bucket. Doesn't a lot of Kickstarter funding show a proof of interest for other more mainstream investors to back it? Because, I mean, maybe I don't understand how the investing scene works. Honestly, never been through it. Not something I've ever interacted with. It's possible that raising some money with the public will motivate investors. But I don't know. That's outside my realm of knowledge or expertise. Thing is, people think Kickstarter is all the money they need rather than this is what we need to get off the ground. Yeah. I mean, that might be a good way of looking at it. But it seems to me like that's not obvious to me as somebody who sponsors a project on Kickstarter. It seems to me like, hey, this is our goal. If we meet this goal, we're going to deliver this product to you. That it feels like a promise in exchange for a commitment on my part. I've never actually seen a Kickstarter that says, hey, if we reach this goal, we'll be well on our way to actually raising what we need to give you what we want to give you. I've never seen one worded that way, have you? SC's Kickstarter was supposed to attract investors. Originally, it was not supposed to fund the game. Interesting. If it was a scam, it'd be the worst effing scam in history. I agree with that. Anyway, let's continue. I had to ask. It's sounding like there's a insinuation that like this is just happening constantly, but like again, I guess I've just been lucky. I just haven't seen it.
People keep throwing money at them, assuming this will be the one that finally delivers all its promises, as if we have no precedent for what is likely to happen. Well, I think I can explain it, at least a bit of it, and it's mostly to do with how these people that support these projects aren't actually buying a game. They're putting a down payment on a potential future community which involves them, because no current community does. Hello, I'm Josh Drive-Hayes. I make videos about MMORPGs. I cover everything from games which released decades ago, like RuneScape, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2, or The Elder Scrolls Online, up to the most popular MMORPGs of today, like RuneScape, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2, and The Elder Scrolls Online. List hasn't changed. It will never change. But why? Why hasn't a new upstart game broken in...
I disagree with that. But it is funny. The list hasn't changed. It will never change. I disagree with that. I think Star Citizen's going to change it. But, you know, I had high hopes that Ashes was going to change it too. And to his point, it has not. I'm also supporting PAX, hoping that it will change it. I will say that it doesn't look good, but I'm going to keep supporting it until it fails or it succeeds. Either way, I'll be there. But of all the things going on, like Star Citizen is going to shake shit up. That's all I'm going to say.
Into the cycle and taken the player base away. Where is the WoW killer everyone keeps talking about? And why do Kickstarter MMORPGs keep promising the world, collecting millions of pounds of backers' money, and then not delivering? And why will they keep doing this forever? To understand why this Ashes of Creation thing happened, and why it will happen again, we need to look at the state of the genre as a whole, the general player base, the hardcore, terminally online people who keep saying they want a new MMORPG and why they want that, and then why it seems accepted that giving millions of pounds to a project which isn't playable is fine, but if an actual existing game asked for the same things, they'd be raked over the coals. So...
Okay, I disagree with this, because... the problem is that companies are not delivering. It's not that we as consumers want to give bags of cash to somebody for a game that doesn't exist. Like, we don't want to do that. We didn't used to do that, right? Guild Wars 2 came out fully investor-driven. World of Warcraft came out fully funded by its previous creations. These games used to come out on their own, but somewhere along the line, the studios stopped delivering these things. They stopped taking risks. They started playing it safe. And we as players want something new that's not safe. We don't want WoW Expansion 25. We don't want whatever the hell the next version of Final Fantasy is going to be called. Like, we want a new thing. And if the existing studios and game companies are not going to deliver it, then we're going to seek alternatives, and that's why we're willing to throw cash at companies for something that doesn't exist. And I don't see that there's anything wrong with that. I feel like we are correcting a situation that capitalism is causing here, and I'm not like an anti-capitalist at all, but there is a market condition that we are looking for alternatives around. That's what's going on. Is it ideal? No, I don't think it's ideal. But what we gotta do.
Let's look at that. As usual, a massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep this channel alive. More information on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. And let's begin with something really direct. I don't really care about Ashes of Creation. I made a video 4 years ago called Don't Believe the Hype, where I was heavily critical of the game project back then as well. I've no interest in it because I knew it was going through the same motions I've seen others go through before. I'm not saying I knew all along or I told you so, I'm saying that I'm hedging my bets based on the evidence we have. And when I heard it shut down because the director, Stephen Shariff, was removed and the board of directors were making changes he couldn't agree with, I wasn't particularly upset. I did find it odd that Stephen has repeatedly said they don't have investors they answer to, and then the board of directors, according to the incorporation documents, was him, but actually no, the company was sold a few months ago and now they do because it was sold to private equity. And remember, the original Kickstarter had the clause, if the game doesn't release, they'll refund everyone, which sounds great. And then just over a month ago, the game released on Steam, meaning this clause is now legally covered. Awfully convenient that. It's almost like it was planned specifically to do that, but I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Look, this is a complex thing. I don't have visibility behind the scenes. For any actual sources, I'd suggest you go and watch Kira TV's video on the whole mess. He's been following this way longer than I have and has a far deeper understanding than I do. He makes videos with patience and integrity. I don't care about Ashes of Creation specifically. But what I do care about is, why do people keep giving projects like this money? Why is it a cycle? Why have we seen MMORPGs pop up, promise the world, take money, and then die again and again? Why do people point out the risks with these projects, the issues, the red flags, and yet the supporters rabidly defend their project, often bullying or harassing people who speak out against it? Why are people so emotionally invested in something which doesn't actually exist? To understand how we've got here, and why we will be here...
Well, I just explained why. And I don't think that... I'm sure there's some people out there that rabidly defend whatever their pet project is, but I think a lot of that is just retaliation against what we were talking about earlier, right? We were talking about there's this sect of people who kind of revel in the failure and the downfall or whatever of these titles, and their volume rises, and so the people who are supporting these projects or believe in these projects, their volume has to rise to counter that volume, and you get this back and forth. I don't think there's a bunch of zealots out there.
Again and again, no matter what we do, I need to say something people may not like, but allow me to explain. MMORPGs aren't good games. At least not from a game design point of view, where maximizing the fun at a moment-to-moment level is the priority. I say this as someone who loves the genre and has thousands of hours in multiple games. The moment-to-moment gameplay is mediocre at best in most of them, and kind of dull in some of them, because the gameplay was never really the focus. The main selling point was this is a virtual world. You can have a second life in it. There's even a game literally called Second Life because it understands this. While tab target combat is perfectly functional with lots of people, and action combat can be engaging and flashy and exciting, if an MMORPG released as a single-player RPG, it would likely be slated, as players would say it's way too grindy, way too many reskinned enemies or formulaic quests, dungeons or bosses. And that's because one of the focuses of the MMO is having a lot of stuff. And the easiest way to make a lot of stuff is to make the player do the same stuff a lot. Repetition and grind is kind of the point. It's a genre aiming at a player base who like...
Okay, we were talking about this before the video started. You were cluing me in to this take, and I had given my take about... Because I've said something similar. Like I was describing about how I don't understand how a person who wanted to play an MMO solo, why they would choose that over playing a single player game. Because I do feel like a lot of single player games are higher fidelity, more immersive, provide more player agency than the equivalent MMO RPG. However, what single player game do you think offers a more immersive experience than Star Citizen? Would be my question. I'm trying to think of like the moment-to-moment Kingdom Come Deliverance. I did play a little bit of that. Space Sim and Empire Builder. Yeah, that's definitely something you're not going to get. Like, that's a totally different class of game that you're not going to get in any kind of MMO. Although, we've been looking at some in the community that kind of come close to that. Anvil Empires is an upcoming MMO I've been looking at. Well, it's not even an MMO. I don't even know what you classify Anvil Empires out. It's from the same people who made Foxhole. Immersive would have to be one of the big ones, like Fallout or maybe Skyrim, Elder Scrolls, Oblivion, maybe. I'll have to check out X4. You just sold me on it. Cyberpunk, that's a good one. X4 is the only one. Definitely check it out. Guy who did it did the old SC flight model, went to work for them too. Nice. I will definitely check it out. It's rare, yeah. I guess my point is that I think that SC will perform pretty well next to a lot of games out there when it comes to moment-to-moment gameplay and immersive qualities. So I don't think that being an MMO prevents you from competing in moment-to-moment gameplay. I think that the reason this is true, because I'm not arguing with him, I do think this is true. I think that Star Citizen is going to break this mold, but I think the reason is the MMOs that we are playing are based on 20 plus year technology. And completely gutting and replacing all that craft and old tech isn't easy. Whenever you have a successful platform that players are coming into and spending a lot of money on, like, that's a risk that you may not want to take. But I think if we had a new MMO built today on today's technology, like Call of Star Citizen, but others like Ashes was headed that way, I think it would be entirely possible to replicate the moment-to-moment gameplay and qualities of some of the single-player titles out there. But really, whenever you're comparing a modern single-player title to an MMORPG, you are comparing across 2 decades of technology progress.
The grind, and what makes the grind enjoyable, was always the player base itself. Now, this doesn't mean always actively interacting with other people. I've made a video on why many people play MMORPGs solo. I do myself many times. But it's the presence of other people within a world which makes the world pleasant to exist within. You can talk to other people, chill together, work together, or enjoy the human ambience created by knowing other people can see your achievements and you're progressing through and contributing to a world other people also love. You have value and connection, even if not actively explored. Which means the biggest strength of the MMORPG genre was the community around it. Now, playing games with other people online used to be a novel thing, and MMOs really tapped into this as their central focus, their core design. Play with other people. And as the years have moved on, that's not novel anymore. And now the MMORPG genre is trying to compete in a mechanical way against other games like MOBAs or Battle Royales, which was never really the point. The MMORPG was never trying to be the most technically advanced game, it was trying to be a digital third space, a social...
At that time, I agree with that. Again, like I said, I don't think that is necessarily true anymore, and I think Star Citizen is a testament to that. But I do think that community is a critical central piece to MMO gaming. I'm not going to... It's interesting, though, IMO Peterson, that he called out, like, what you were saying earlier, even though you may not engage directly with the community, it's just being surrounded by people who are contributing to this shared universe you're playing in. So I thought that was interesting. Yep, but that's why SC is successful, because it is decidedly different. Yeah, exactly. But is it different just because of the vision of Chris Roberts? I think that is a large part of it, no doubt. But I think also it can be different because of the technology it's being built with, which did not exist whenever all the other MMOs were created.
Hang out with mechanics attached. I see MMORPGs as old-fashioned chat rooms with a game attached. And it's that community that played them, which people keep coming back for. You can endure a mediocre game just like a mediocre job because the people around you make it fun. In fact, whenever I ask someone why they stopped playing any specific MMORPG, it's very rarely because of a technical or mechanical reason. It's often because their mates stopped playing, the community dried up, the social aspect slowed down. Indeed, the MMORPG genre has had the same few games dominate it for decades, not because they are the best designed video games, but because they are the best designed communities. It's a symbiotic connection. The MMORPG game creates the community, and the community supports the game. remove one, you often lose the other. Now we have to understand, the vast majority of people
I mean, yeah, he's not wrong here. I mean, this is, I think, why people get so obsessed over Steam charts, right? And you look at something like PAX Day, and it has bled 60% of people since launch, and people just start freaking out about that. And I think that is because they want to be where the people are, and they don't want to invest their time into a game that is not going to sustain population, because they do derive value from that. And that is definitely an intrinsic part, like an inseparable component of the MMO experience, but I don't think it makes the case for them being unable to compete on a mechanical front.
who engage in a thing, be that
I
a
think
game,
they're two totally
sport, a
separate
music,
things. They're
a
not
hobby,
connected.
anything really.
He's trying to
they don't
connect them
engage
here.
with
I
it
don't think they're
beyond
connected.
the thing itself. They are casual fans, and that's totally okay.
The only way they're connected is that in the past, the community piece made up for some missing mechanical components, but again, I think we're past that. And I would go so far as to say that if you compare WoW in 2004 to single player titles at the time, I don't think it was so far behind on a mechanical level. I think something like WoW or Final Fantasy looks very much behind single player titles now on a mechanical level, because again, you've gained 15 years of technology on that single player game, and you have not on the MMO.
People may listen to a band and
I feel like a broken record, but I don't know. That's where I'm at.
enjoy the music, but anything further, such as knowing all the band members' names, their earlier works, which brand of equipment they use, that kind of doesn't matter to a casual enjoyer. That's more of a hardcore fan thing. People can enjoy an actor without knowing anything about the actor's personal life, and people can enjoy a video game without engaging with the forums or subreddit or real-life meetups of that game. And this means the people who log into an MMORPG, enjoy it, and log out are the casual fans. They aren't posting on forums or watching Twitch streamers or complaining about patch notes on YouTube videos. That's reserved for the more enfranchised hardcore. So when people tell me every MMORPG player is unhappy with the genre because they see a few people complaining online or a few people looking for a new game constantly, I have to remind people you're only seeing people so enfranchised they actively engage beyond the thing itself. The people who are happy with whatever game they play are just playing that game. I have loads of friends who are totally happy playing RuneScape or World of Warcraft or Lord of the Rings Online, and when I ask if they would leave their game for a new MMORPG that is technically better, they say no. Not because they think the game they play already has the best graphics or the best music or the most amazing, incredible systems, but because to them, it's not just the game on a technical level, but the community and connection to the game which matters to them. So while this video is going to look into the type of people who give money to ambitious MMORPG projects, please understand.
Yes, but it's a snowball effect. I think this is a very simple way of looking at a more complex problem. I think that there's probably, like, I don't know the exact numbers, but I would imagine there's probably a very large contingent of players that this is true for. Like, they're just going to stay in this game because my friends are here. But not everybody is that type of player. Some players are going to go and experiment with a new game whenever it comes out because they are interested in new things and new ways. It's like when World of Warcraft was at its peak and it had 11 million active players, and the next new thing came out. Right. Well, I don't know what it was. Was it Guild Wars 2 or Final Fantasy 14? I don't remember the exact order of things, but if you just took an extremely simplistic view like this, then nobody would have ever left WoW to go to Guild Wars 2 or Final Fantasy 14 because all their friends were in WoW. You know what I mean? I think that's an overly simplistic view because it's a snowball effect. You have a few friends over there, and then if the game is compelling enough to keep them, well then, a few more friends are going to join them. And then because of that, a few more friends are going to join them. And, it's going to create this vacuum. And not only that, but new MMOs might open up entirely new markets that the old MMO didn't capture. And just the existence of new people from those new markets is going to draw other people in, and so on and so forth. So easy to get stuck in a bubble and think that's what everyone does. Sure. Yeah, internet intensifies the effect. Exactly. So when the next MMO does release, whether that's Star Citizen or something else, I mean, it's going to pull some of the people. And the effect that it has on those people is what's going to determine how fast that snowball builds, right? I mean, PAX Day pulled some people in. People say PAX Day is a terrible game, and it still pulled some people in. Just imagine what Star Citizen is going to be capable of. That at launch War has a better MMO than WoW. Problem was War got worse and WoW got better. I mean, WoW just they keep going, they keep delivering. I mean, they have a steady pace. The one thing WoW has done is it has raised the bar substantially on entering the field. But it's not so high as to be unreachable.
And we're talking about a subset of people within a subset of players within a subset genre. So we have a genre of game which often lives or dies on its community, with the people who are happy and comfortable in whatever their community is just enjoying being there. This means, from my experience of talking to many MMO players, the people constantly pining for a new MMO to come along and change things, the players most desperate to jump into something new, are often the players who aren't part of an established community in any other game. They don't feel they have a stable or solid guild or clanmates, sometimes even consistent online friends.
I think that's a bit of a sweeping generalization too. I don't mean to be so critical because I think this guy has a lot of very valid points, but it goes back to my earlier statement about there's some people that are going to be drawn to this new game, even if they do have an existing friend base on another MMO. I don't think it's just loners that are looking for the next great MMO. I'm looking for the next great MMO, and I have a huge community around me. There's a lot of people in this community that are looking for the next big MMO. There's probably some of you in the chat, part of Unhinged Gaming, and you are looking for the next MMO. You're part of a big community. There's a ton of MMOs being played here. You're not playing those. Why? Because they don't serve that that level of fidelity or gameplay or immersion or whatever it is that you're looking for. And so you are looking for the next thing. And community will follow you. So, yeah, I don't know about that one.
Often players who are trying to play MMO games without the support of also being in the community of those games, which means they have to judge the games not as a social hangout, but as a mechanical experience, and that's always been a weaker aspect. The players who are constantly looking for the next big thing are often wrongly convinced it's the mechanical aspects of an MMO which will then build the community, and not the players constantly sticking together and interacting despite the mechanics not being the best. This means a new MMO won't capture players by just promising new mechanics, because the happy players are content playing whatever their game is, but promising a new community to be a part of. That's a human need. That's a very attractive marketing angle. That's why we see a systemic focus on highlighting all the ways these new games will have interconnected communities and how you as a player will matter. There's a reason whenever a new MMORPG project needs funding, it focuses on marketing phrases like player-driven, player-created, skill-based, your story, guilds, clans, build your own city, game reacts to your actions, living, breathing world, non-repeatable quests, your choices matter. It's because those designs put the individual into a position of power within the game world, and being in a position of power is a strong desire for someone who wants to be important in an MMO, but doesn't feel that in any of the current ones. But then a new game gets announced, a brand new MMORPG which will change things. It will be amazing, incredible, have systems that revolutionize the genre, change gaming forever. It will be everything you want it to be, and the people without a stable community in one of the existing games get very excited, because to them this isn't just a new game. It's a brand new chance at being involved in a community, one which doesn't yet exist and so hasn't had a hierarchy set. When a Kickstarter asks for money for this brand new virtual world that will be everything you imagine, many people who support them aren't buying a product. They're buying a dream, placing a down payment on a future friendship group, investing in a social connection they don't have or haven't found in any current game. This is why announced games have such outlandish and incredible sounding design, 1,000-player battles, unique player housing systems, reactive worlds, player-driven economies on a micro level, a future which changes based on your decisions, skill-based everything. These mechanical features are indeed something the MMORPG...
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to connect. But I'm having a hard time. And I like Joss Strife's hands. I like a lot of his content, but I don't know that I can get behind this take at all. 52 XP, let's go! Yeah. he's really framing this as like it's just a bunch of lonely people looking for the next MMO. That's what I'm hearing, and that does not resonate with me or add up or match my experiences at all. And I'm not even saying this as Grolo, the systems guy. I'm saying this as Grolo, the community guy. Like we run, like I run a community, and I get a lot of players' opinions scrolling past the chat channels on a daily basis, and so I don't know. I feel like I have a pretty good pulse, at least on our community. Maybe our community is just totally different from any other community. That's a very distinct possibility because I only lead one community, so my sample size is just one community. Although I've certainly talked to other communities. As a leader of this one, I'm talking to leaders of other communities and so on and so forth. So I have a little bit of information coming in from outside groups, and I don't see this as true at all. I don't see a bunch of lonely people looking for a community. I see a bunch of people that have a community and they're looking for a good game that will engage that community. That's what I see. I don't see people looking for community. I see people looking for things for the community to do. Like they're bored of the same WoW recipe, and the community kind of just gets bored of that. The community wants to stick together. They want to play together, but they want the next big thing, the next challenge, and that's the next level of gaming as a community. I mentioned earlier we were looking at Anvil Empires. I don't know if you've ever seen Foxhole. It's like this big. To his point, it's a existing game. It offers like 1,000 people on a map, and it's just like this big war going on all the time. And there's a bunch of stuff going on there, but we've been looking at one called Anvil Empires, which is the next iteration of that game. It's in like 1,000-person map, but it's going to be medieval instead of like World War II era, and that's got people excited, But it's an existing community, and they're talking about these new games, like, oh yeah, we're all going to check this out and play this together. That's not a lonely group of people looking for a game. So maybe I'm biased. Maybe it's just because of the position I'm in and the people that I surround myself with. But this so far, this video is not resonating with me. Maybe it'll resonate with others.
Genre doesn't usually go for because of the technical limitations or the mechanical quality was never really the focus of the genre. These claims of amazing things are for marketing, to grab headlines, and importantly, to give the investors and the evangelical supporters something to preach to the non-believers about what the game will have once the game is actually made. Because saying, I'm investing in this because I want to feel part of a community and haven't found one I gel with and feel this may create one I can be involved with from the start, thus grandfathering myself into the social fabric of society within the game and being important, doesn't flow as much as the game is going to be sick because it has cool features your game doesn't have. It not only creates the us versus them mentality, but then actively supports it. This is why communities instantly spring up around unreleased games or projects, with people suddenly interacting, meeting other supporters, chatting via the Kickstarter comments, Discord groups which are formed, forums, YouTubers start to cover the information, communities begin to form around the game even though it doesn't exist, and anyone who is critical of the game often gets attacked by that community because to the community that is forming, that game isn't just a game, it's the start of a new symbiotic relationship between game and community, community and game, and critiquing any part of that process is attacking the process, preventing it from happening. And the process has to happen to form those connections, to maintain them, for them to be important at all. Because the game needs to exist for their community, their social group, to exist. And if they have so much time to dedicate to this new one that doesn't even exist yet, it's often because they haven't found stability in another. The groups of players which form around a new game project and then become friends, and indeed real friends, often know on some level that the project is the glue holding the community together. And if the project fails, the friendships will fail and fall away too. Think about how many times you've had work friends, then when you leave a job, you never see them again. It's the same principle, but with a game. Connection has value, and the people who support these projects do make connections and do value them even though the game doesn't exist. And you're not wrong for valuing them. They are important things. So why does this affect the MMORPG genre and player base so much? Disproportionately so. Why are MMORPG projects seeking millions in funding crowdfunding, often more successful than, say, a smaller single-player game seeking far less? Well, if you want me to be candid and direct, it's because the MMORPG genre often encourages unhealthy play behaviors built around spending vast amounts of time inside it, and then rewards those who have strong community connections within the games, and thus access to stable and capable teammates to complete the harder content. This leads to a group of people
We're sitting here talking about community and player connections, and up runs Fart Smeller.
who spend so long online they lose or damage real-life social connections. So when those players either burn out of a game, get kicked out of their community, or leave for any other reason, you've got a subset.
If you take your whole guild together as the single entity he's talking about, do you think it makes any more sense? If I treat the entire community that we have as a single entity, I can kind of see what you're thinking about. Maybe. Again, I think it's hard for me to relate just because of the way I probably see the community. And I'm sure that I'm in the minority there, right? There's probably a lot of people in our community that don't see the community the way I do. They see it as a community that they play certain games with, and at some point they might, to Josh's point, they might jump to the next game looking for a different community. Like now they have multiple communities, and you know, like Discord itself is a big network of micro communities connected to macro communities. There's all kinds of stuff going on there. But me, in my position, like I view it as the community, right? And it just could be that my perspective is skewed and affected by that perspective. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to argue that there's no merit to this this viewpoint and position. I'm sure there definitely is. It's hard for me to empathize with it just because I view it so differently. But yeah, it's a good question. Spend too much time on the subreddit or Spectrum, and you might see things differently in the unofficial Discords. Is your community looking for a larger community in a way? I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, I'll have to give it some more thought. It's a good question.
Of hardcore gamers who often place online gaming above real-life socializing, who want to spend hours and hours a day inside a virtual world, who are desperate for a new community to be a part of, and want to be important within that community. But they've already gone through the games that exist and haven't found what they're looking for. Often not because they haven't found a game they like, but because they're looking to be part of something beyond a game, part of a social group. And those isolated or displaced players are willing to throw money at the potential of connection within a world which doesn't exist, a world where they are who they want to be, because it happens in the future, where they could be anything. Marketing people in the audience will know you don't sell a product, you sell a lifestyle. As a product, an MMORPG game is a fading genre populated by an aging player base. But as a lifestyle, it's still a gaming connection that people want. And selling tickets to the next big thing grand opening gala is far more impressive and prestigious than waiting for the thing to open and then selling normal tickets. People want to be at the premiere because they get seen being at the premiere, and this makes them important within the community, which will hopefully form around the thing. Consider this. When a Kickstarter MMORPG, a project or game which does not exist and is not playable, gives people the opportunity to pay hundreds or even thousands of pounds to support it, people do. And people then defend doing so. Maybe they believe in the project. But more often, I've found it's because those people are buying the future fantasy of social involvement and a community they fit in. They are buying the potential of a dream. Now imagine if an existing MMORPG offered shop options of future things for hundreds or thousands of pounds, or things which may one day exist. The communities would hate that. They'd call it greedy, a scam. They'd say, why are you asking for money for a product which doesn't exist within a game which does? And then consider the absurdity of this. Why are people more comfortable giving millions of pounds to a project which may possibly exist than giving the same amount of money to a project which actively currently does exist? It's because they aren't buying access to the game. They are buying the dream. And a dream is always perfect.
Again, I'm sure there is some merit to this, but I assume he's referencing either Ashes of Creation or Star Citizen with this millions of pounds bit. But what is the alternative? Like, what existing MMO would we want to dump millions of pounds into? This argument doesn't make sense to me either. He's saying, why are you more willing to give millions of pounds to a project that doesn't exist than you are millions of pounds to one that already exists? But again, I go back to the ones that already exist are not giving us what we want. I'm not going to give millions of pounds to, I'm not giving millions of pounds to anybody, but, the large chunk of change that I put into Star Citizen was not for the potential community that I'm going to find there. That's not why I invested money into Star Citizen. And that money that I did invest into Star Citizen, I sure as hell wasn't going to give that to Guild Wars 2 or Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft. He's saying be happy with what you have and don't ever bother wanting more. Yeah, that's not me. I want more. I'm not going to say that I did not invest in a dream. I absolutely invested in a dream whenever I spent money on Star Citizen ships. But it was not the dream of the community. It was the dream of being able to board my ship on a dusty trail of a back planet and ascend through the atmosphere and fly through space and descend through the atmosphere of a random moon in a random galaxy and watch a planet rise from that moon and maybe do some hunting and fishing on that planet and get back in and fly out and attack a pirate who's harassing. That's why I spent money. I spent money on the mechanics, which is what this video is arguing doesn't matter for MMOs, and I fundamentally disagree. I fundamentally disagree with that position.
Again, understand that an MMORPG player who is just happy and content with their current game and their current community is not giving hundreds or thousands of pounds to a project promising a new one. The people often supporting these projects at the highest price points are desperate for a community to belong in, and these projects know that. Giving money to a product which already exists means facing its flaws,
right,
and facing the daunting task of ingratiating yourself into a community which already exists, climbing a social hierarchy which already exists, and accepting you may not be an important person straight away. You may fade into the crowd. It means dealing with social engagement where your value comes from you and you alone, and making friends as an adult is hard, especially when everyone else already has years of connection to each other. It's daunting. If you're coming from another MMORPG that you've played for years, it might mean unlearning mechanical systems and learning new ones, the embarrassment of failure. But when a game is brand new, everyone's suddenly in the same position. You're not the new guy, the outcast, or the extra anymore. You're suddenly one of the pioneers, the founders. You're in at the ground floor. And if the community grows, you won't just be some guy. You'll be one of the originals. And that is a very attractive concept for people who don't currently have a community. But a new MMO, a brand new community, that's a new start. Everyone wants to connect. That's a fresh chance at being a someone, a chance at belonging. And if it's still being designed, maybe a chance to suggest tweaks and changes which will make it more like a game you once loved, to reclaim a level of familiarity. This is often why some of the highest, most expensive Kickstarter tiers have you designing aspects of the game. It's a way of saying, hey, not only is there a community, but you are important in it. This is another reason why so many kickstarted MMORPGs often focus on the hardcore full loot PvP crowd, because those are often the players who, if not entrenched in a specific game long term, are so desperate to find a new community, because the games they latch onto often dwindle and die out, precisely because the design of them isn't conducive to holding a community long term. The players happy to ride the roller coaster of a theme park MMORPG, well, they're just doing that. And that's why the genre has been the same games for the past 10 years, because those are the communities which have endured, and that's why people will keep throwing money at new MMORPG projects, because those people haven't found a community they fit into yet, and the new game is promising to be just that. And that's why games almost never release, because the MMO genre is incredibly expensive, and even when they do, the community is small, and often proceeds to just keep getting smaller until it can't sustain itself and the cycle begins again. Another project appears, promising another dream, and people throw money at that one too. So the next time you see an MMORPG project like this, consider if you are being sold a dream of a potential future, and then try to wake up before deciding to give it your money. I firmly believe the MMORPG genre's greatest strength is not being the most technically advanced gaming experience, but the community within the games. Mechanically, all MMOs have glaring flaws. A brand new one won't change those. And a player desperate for a new MMORPG is often not...
I would argue against the not being the most technically advanced game.
Crying out for a mechanical revolution within the game experience itself, but for a community to belong to experience the mechanics of the game with. This is why you won't see a WoW killer, no matter how mechanically advanced a new game is. Because it's never been about making a better game on a technical level. It's about displacing a community which has endured for decades, which you won't do. It's why City of Heroes was revived. It's why old school RuneScape exists. It's why EverQuest is more popular than EverQuest 2. The communities of those games endured. And if you as an MMORPG player are waiting for the next big thing, maybe understand that it might not actually be a new game you're waiting for. It might just be a new community within a game that exists right now, who would love to play that game with you and help you feel involved, connected, and wanted. Maybe in the future a new MMO will release and succeed. But until then, you don't need to give your money to people selling you a dream, when there are communities in games awake and playing right now who would love to have you. Go and find a community and have fun in a game which exists. Make those connections in the present, instead of paying for a future which you may not get. Cheers for watching. Another massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who help this channel stay alive. You can support from only £1 a month. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter, Insta, and our Discord, a community you are welcome to join. And as always, have
a lot of supporters.
A great day.
It was a good video. I'm glad I watched it. I appreciate the recommendation. And I'm definitely not trying to send the wrong message. There's definitely merit to this, and I'm sure it maps to the human psyche, to your point. In the chat there, Lion. I think that it takes a very one-dimensional look at the issue, and like I see it very differently. And I think, like anything, right? Like there's going to be so many sides and angles to this, and I'm sure that for a significant portion of the player base, this angle might have a lot of merit and hold a lot of water. There's going to be other angles, such as the way I'm looking at this, that is just totally different, and I feel very disconnected from this viewpoint. I don't, because here let me show you. Let's take a look at. Here's what I spent money on. I don't know about you guys. This is what I spent money. This demo brought tears to my eyes, and there was not one thing about community in this demo. And this is what has me opening my wallet. You guys remember this from CitizenCon 2 years ago? Was it 2 or 3? pay attention to the text at the bottom of the screen. As they were going through this demo, not once did they ever mention the community that you were going to become a part of. Everything that they showed in this demo was about the mechanics and the technology. About what they were able to achieve with the platform and the technology that they were building. So, at the very least, whenever they say all MMOs, I don't think they can say all MMOs. I think you at least need to make a subtitle there, or an exception. I'm sure that there are some MMOs that have made a lot of money selling people on the idea of community. I'm sure that is very true, but I don't think that is true for all MMOs. I don't think that is true for this project. I think this is a project that is selling people on technology. Is it still a dream? Absolutely. It is still a dream, but it's one that is partially in our hands already. And if what we were seeing being delivered to our hands was not meeting our expectations at all, I don't think those wallets would keep opening. I think we're seeing what's being put in our hands, and we're looking at this, and we can see the path from where we are to where they're promising that we're going to go. And that's why we're coughing up dollars, or pounds, or whatever currency you're coughing up. I don't think it's because some content creator is out there covering it, or because you're lonely. I don't think that's it. Absolutely. Exactly, the experience the tech can deliver. And this is what I meant earlier when I was asking, like, which single-player games compete with Star Citizen? And it sounds like X4 is one of them, but I don't know. I don't know a lot about X4. I gotta go check it out, but in my mind, I cannot think of any single-player game even that can compete with this experience. Oh man, when I were going through this asteroid belt, I got chills. The first time I saw space whales. This was badass. Oh man, I remember this. Was this the first time they showed us the wormhole? I can't remember. I remember sitting through this and just my jaw like hanging off my face. It looks even better than that in the game now. Yeah, the music was insane. It's crazy to think that, like, when I was watching this and I was looking at that wormhole and I was thinking, oh my god, and like, now you're in the game and it looks even better than this demo. Oh yeah, I'll show you the other thing that got me, this whole scene, this whole finale was good for, I don't even know how much money out of my wallet. I remember this, where they're showing the water reacting to the jet. Tell you one thing, I wasn't thinking about a guild whenever I was looking at this. And this final part where the two jets come down and they streak across the water and you're seeing the water fly up. Yep, I wasn't thinking about community. Oh man, this scene. Whew. Incredible. There's one other. It got me to open my wallet. Not community related.
With Genesis, we've made a complete paradigm shift to how we do things.
Yep.
Biomes are now created based on the physical data sets.
More of those freaking
with
jets
the
in the
assets
water.
being
That
spawned whenever
every
and
time I do
wherever
that,
the correct
I take a 20 out of my
criteria is
wallet and I
found.
throw it away.
So when you see a forest or a meadow, it's no longer because an artist painstakingly crafted it there. It's now because it simply wants to be there. It fits inside our rules.
You're right, those mountains look better.
Genesis also ties into our other gameplay systems. Our new planets are built from the information we create for our different datasets, like height maps, humidity, temperature, soil type, soil amounts, geology erosion data, to name but a few. This means you can now tell where to find valuable minerals as the geology looks like it would be suitable for it.
Those mountains
Where
look
spring
good.
piles exist below sheer cliff faces, and where rocks have broken off over time due to erosion. Of course, these new tools still give us the ability to direct the look and feel we want. The attention to detail from the tallest mountain to the smallest flower is still our core DNA.
I do want to say though that, like, I'm not arguing that community doesn't mean anything. Like, Star Citizen would be of no interest to me at all if it did not support, if it was not an MMO, if it did not support large communities. I can't say no interest. I'd probably still play the shit out of this game even if it was single player, but like, that amplifies the draw of this game. But the point I'm trying to make is that there is no existing MMO, regardless of how strong the community was, that would keep me from coming to this game, and it's not because of a potential larger community or a potential new place that I can be a big shot or anything like that. It's all about this. This is what draws me to the game. Nothing else. It is the technology, the mechanics,
Genesis,
and the
we
experience.
can now
to,
keep that detail-orientated
point.
mindset as we focus on the quality, and it provides the quantity. Genesis provides our planets with the ultimate sense of exploration and adventure, discovery in the purest emotional form. We want you to find that perfect place, with the planets providing an abundant resource to harvest. This is a major part of what exploration is for us. We want that feeling of finding a corner of the universe that you'll fall in love with, and where you want to settle down and build your home. Now I'm going to hand you over to Will to go deeper into what we have built that allows Genesis to realize our vision. As a reminder, some of the visuals you'll see will evolve and change as we continue our technological development and hone in on the final look for Nyx.
And I cannot wait for Nyx. Crafting is definitely more important, but Nyx 1 is so close to getting me as excited as crafting. Yeah, it's going to be freaking amazing. I just want to be driving one of my rovers through this valley. I think that tech first or game first was the question that Elite versus SC originally answered. Yeah. Well, I mean, Elite Dangerous launched, right? It made money. It's just like the corporate world. If you have a company that's going to play the long game and they are going to invest in the tech up front and they're gonna make that investment, there could be some shinier company over here doing things the less focused on the technical prowess and the technical capability of whatever they're building, and more focused on the marketing and the presentation and the product and whatever, and that recipe might work really well for a time, but eventually those people that are investing, they're gonna catch up and then pass you and then never look back. There's plenty of examples of this in the industry. Plenty of examples. I think one of the biggest problems in gaming right now is that practically everybody is playing that short-term, marketing-focused, product-focused game. And here you have Star Citizen. They're playing a totally different game from everybody else. And, you know, they might be a meme at the moment. They might be the brunt of some jokes and some laughs. But in time, nobody's going to be laughing at them. Yeah, tortoise in the hare, no doubt. My opinion, of course. I could be totally wrong. This has been a very fun stream. That was a really good video recommendation. I'm glad we got the chance to watch that together. Hopefully I didn't seem too opposed to new ideas. I'm definitely not. Like, I do think there's a lot of merit in stuff what he was saying. I just think there's a lot of angles to look at the issue. And I enjoyed ending it with these two videos, man. Looking at this scene. Incredible. Wanted to thank everybody for coming out. Really appreciate all your company. I mean, it's you guys that make these live streams so much fun. Remember, I do them every Saturday. I try to get started around between 2 and 4, and then I just go. I've just been going all night, so you know, I got a late start tonight. I don't think we started till, I don't even know, 6? No, 5? I don't know, something like that. So we've been going on a while. It's about 1 a.m. here now, but we'll be back at it again next Saturday. Now it's time to watch hours of AOC conspiracy theory videos. Good luck with that. There's plenty of them out there. Thanks so much, everybody. I will see you all in the comments this week and next week for another live one. Until then, take care and Grolo out.